right, guys, the world that we live in today, man, I think in every generation, every millennium, the world that we live in, everybody in those generations understood and hoped for a place of hope, a place of respect, a place for, you can have some commonalities. You can agree or agree to disagree, a place where we can have ideas. And in those ideas, we just challenge each other in those ideas in a way that would prevent us from going to war, or a way that would prevent us from hating each other's guts, a way that would prevent us from being divided as a world, a nation, country, community, even homes. And so I'm often reminded of this verse in the Bible, and it says, "Let all things be done with decency and order." Now, for you all who may be thinking about decency and what it means, decency is the behavior that conforms to accepted standards of morality or respectability. Man, morality is something that this country was founded on. This country was founded in, first of all, Judeo-Christian values. And I know that's something that the founders who framed the Constitution thought long and hard about. What would be the one thing that would keep man in check from his wildest vices? Now, I know not all things in the Constitution that people agree with, but for the most part, in my eyes, I think it's the greatest piece of law. It's the greatest laws ever written, because we are the freest country in the world, and we up against it right now. I feel like we're up against it. Everybody's questioning, challenging the Constitution. People are just challenging our way of life and the freedom that we have. So I think we can remember this one principle: decency and order. Those two will be greater. Remember that one Bible verse said, behavior that conforms to accepted standards of morality or respectability. See, for me, order and decency comes from what I believe in. I follow God, so I'm going to do most things, try to do the best that I can to live a life of decency and order. And I'm reminded of politics when I think of this a lot of times. I'm reminded of homes and social media when I think about this right now. A lot of homes, communities, politics, just people in general are less inclined to get along, less inclined to respect each other. And we're also challenging the morality of our individuality and our collective communities. I see that people are now standing opposed to one another in a way that doesn't show respect anymore, in ways that is against the moral way or the moral principles that we should try to live by. Now, I think that in everything that we do, we should have respect for one another, which is why I bring this up. I feel like in everything that we do, we should act in a way, show integrity and have order in our life, because those are some keys to success. If you could have some decency and walk and, live like that, hey, don't show all your hind parts off. Don't show all your breasts. Don't have your pants sagging. For some of y'all, you're like, well, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, it's like, you got to be decent. You got kids. It's like in public, some couples feel like, they should just be all over each other, but we got kids around. There's just different things. There's a time and a place for everything. I understand you love her. I know you love him too, but there's just certain things you should do in the proper time, and that shouldn't be around kids. So I'm a big proponent. If I see things in front of kids, I'm more inclined to want to slap that person immediately, because, hey, we got kids here. You need to recognize that and see if the kids see me slap you and then you understand that I just slapped you, then everybody understand that there's a way that things should be done in order. Now I know I shouldn't go around slapping people, because I know how y'all feel about violence. I know y'all feel about, putting your hands on one another. So let's try to be decent and orderly so we don't have to go there. Like, some people get arrested for doing things that they shouldn't do, and then are mad at the police or hate the police guts because they not doing what they're supposed to do, because they choose not to live with decency and order. They choose to live without order or above the law, or with no respect to the law, no respect to people. And there's a place for everybody that does that. It's jail, the grave, insane asylum, by yourself. You never know. where there's a place for all those people. Now, the same asylum, you know, people have problems. They can't control. I get it. All right. I'm sensitive to that. Trust me. But there's a place for everybody. If you can't live with moral principles, you don't have to believe in the Bible. If you can't live with how to, you know, if you can't believe in the Constitution, but if you try to live a moral life, which is pretty good, that means you just live an acceptable life that is conducive to growth in this world, in your community, in your own personal life. I think that's the great thing. And if you can have respect of yourself, if you can have respect and be respectful of yourself and others, America would be a great place. If America could do these two things, just be decent and live in order, America, as I put on Instagram, would be an even greater America. Would be an even greater place, even greater country to live in. Because that's what life is about. Gaining, loving, because everybody wants to gain something, which is growth. You want to live in a place of, we don't have to worry about shots being fired over your head, and you want to have a place where we can have discussion, and if we don't agree, we respect each other enough and we respect ourselves enough to be decent in how we approach things so that at the end of the day, we can move on with our lives still intact and not worry about anything. Like, you know what, that guy, that woman, I respect him. I respect him. He did right. He didn't just cuss me out or slap me like I referenced to earlier. He just lived life and loved it. Now, that's great. That's how it should be. So just something I wanted to remind y'all of, because this is the lightning round. It's the 10 minutes. I know y'all like, man, all your episodes are 10 minutes now. No, brother, I got some long ones. I just been throttling back a little bit because, man, I want y'all to enjoy the ride. This is just a ride conversation that we have. Just something to think about, man. Because like I say, one thing that's important and one thing that everybody must do is lead themselves. Whether you lead other people, you know, that's up to you. That's up to the situation, if you have a family or whatever the case may be. But one thing you must do is lead yourself as an individual first, and then as a collective, because you got to have both. The most important thing, you know, when you see that respectable dad and mom that raised those kids with great moral principles and values and have respect for themselves and others and just have respect for life in general, you know, those people might not be astronauts or doctors, but you don't have to be, because I recognize you for being a decent human being that try to live a life that is good. Because good is just doing what you are supposed to do in life. Good is what you're doing, what you're supposed to do in life. Doing what you are designed to do, and that is respect others, really designed to share Jesus and, you know, help other people be able to live in a life full of freedom. Because that's what we want to be, is freedom. And this is how we can get to freedom. This is how we can have freedom. This is how we can, you know, liberate more people and liberate our mind, is living with order and decency. Something very simple that can change your life forever. For every single person that listens to this, they should just try to do this and walk this way. It's not easy because people will always test you, and the minute you try to walk like this, you'll be tested, because that's just how it tends to go. When you try to do better in life, there are things that try to hinder you and be like, nah, step back. So you got to do what you can do so you can live in a way that is good for all people, because it is good when we can be respectful of one another in America. And I think that's what we got to get back to. Throwing stones, you know, look for those leaders that are willing to be respectful. And really, I mean, in all actuality, people they want somebody that's going to throw the rocks, throw the stones. And I understand. I get it. Some people just, you know, sometimes when you live, I'm going to let you know, you live a life of respectability, you try to be respectful and have standards and everything, people look at you, laugh at you. Honestly, in these days, it tends to be backwards. It's like, what's wrong with you, man? Why you not firing back? Why you not saying something? But for those who can hold their composure and not be bothered, they will be blessed for it. Like my boy last night, in the machine, nobody would know. It was an error, and that's what we always going to have with machines, y'all. So let's make sure we keep people with jobs, because it's important. But anyway, you know, he ended up, the machine gave him $40 back, and he only supposed to have 20. And I was talking to him on the phone. He's like, man, you know, I just got $40 from the machine that had two stuck together, but I gave it back to him. I'm like, what? I would have kept that. No, I was like, no, you did the right thing. Give it back. And then later on, he gets a call and blessed with, man, 200%. more of what he would have gotten if he would have just took that $20. Think about that. If we do what we're supposed to do the right things, great things happen for us, guys. So just remember that, man. Let everything be done decently and in order, all right? So this is the Red Tape Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Demerious Nelson. This is brought to you by For the One Media. Make sure y'all check out the Red Tape Podcast at Apple Podcasts or Spotify, all streaming platforms, guys. Hey, y'all have a great day. Keep living with decency and order. Peace.